I need a text.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone.
Hey guys, I'm at you today with a topic about our hobby. I think that there's some interesting facts about our hobby. This hobby has survived every depression that has come out. Every time there's been a financial depression in the United States, the aquarium fish hobby has survived it better than most hobbies or most businesses in general. But we're in summertime now, and summertime is a downtime for our hobby. A lot of people, we're busy. We've got yard work to do. We've got summer vacations to take. There's a lot going on in the summertime. So in some aspects, our hobby takes a cyclical dive during the summer. People get busy with their lives. They've got other things to do. And I think that that's a pretty general thing that happens in our hobby, that this hobby is cyclical, that it runs in cycles of being very much on and very much off. And I think that that's just part of it, that we just need to understand what's going on in our hobby and recognize that there are going to be times when our hobby is slow, that there are going to be times when it's going to appear to us from the outside that there are less people involved with the hobby than with before. But I think that if you really study and look hard, that you will begin to recognize the cycles of up and down in this hobby, and that you will begin to be less affected by the idea that, oh, none of the people in my club are showing up or doing what they normally do, or, oh, there's no good fish available in the hobby right now, or, oh, I can't find anybody to connect with in the hobby right now. Everybody's busy doing something else. I think that you will begin to recognize the cycles that our hobby goes through, that for some people it will seem like the busiest time of the year, and for other people it'll feel like you're all alone in the hobby and that there's no one else in the hobby. But those are all just products of our perception. And I think that we can modify our perceptions, that we can educate our perceptions so that we begin to understand that it's not the hobby that's going up and down and up and down and up and down as much as it is our perceptions of the hobby that are going up and down and up and down and up and down. You know, sometimes you can't find a decent fish store, sometimes you can't find a good club, but if you keep looking, or if you open your eyes a little wider, I think that maybe you will find a decent fish store close to you, or a breeder that doesn't advertise locally so much, but that if you go to a few shows in your area, or if you go to club meetings in your area, you may discover that there's actually a lot more around than you think there is. And yes, the hobby does go through ups and downs. There are times when the hobby, for whatever reason, people get out of the hobby, or people are busy with life crises or something like that. It seems sometimes like there's less of the hobby to go around. But I think that if you will study more closely, if you'll open your ears and open your eyes a little more, you will discover that the people are still there in the hobby. It's just that you're not seeing them, you're not hearing from them. It doesn't seem to you as if they are. But this is a very resilient hobby. This hobby's been going on for a century or more now in the United States. And it is a very resilient hobby. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there that feel exactly like the hobby as you do. And hundreds of thousands of more that are more invested in the hobby than you are, or slightly less invested in the hobby than you are. And it's up to you to modify your perceptions by going to club meetings. And yes, you may have a hard time finding a club that fits your exact needs close to you. But that doesn't mean you can't join a national club. That doesn't mean you can't join a worldwide club. There are clubs in every area that cover the entirety of the United States, that cover the entirety of Europe, that cover the entirety of the world. There are forums, there are websites, there are YouTube, Facebook, you name it. There is information and people out there for you to connect with if you will just search hard enough, search long enough, search diligently enough to find them. And when you do that, when you've made some connections, when you find a group of like-minded hobbyists, then maybe you will begin to perceive that the hobby was not as down as you thought it was when you thought it was down. And maybe it's not as up as you think it is when you think it's up either. But we do have methods to break down these highs and lows that we perceive as hobbyists. You know, you can say that having a tank crash, losing all your fish, all these things are lows. You can say breeding your dream fish. You can say all these other things are highs. And by the same token, take all that with a grain of salt. When it seems like everything's doom and gloom and terrible, realize that it really isn't all doom and gloom and terrible if you just choose to perceive it in a way that allows you to recognize it as an opportunity for growth. And by the same token, when you've been published by a world-famous magazine and you've taken thousands of pictures and you have millions of followers all over the world, don't be too high on yourself either. Understand that this hobby has people in it from the rankest beginner to the most accomplished fish keeper. And where we rank on that scale is not nearly as important as us making connections with each other as people, as hobbyists, as mentors, as students. The cycles are not nearly as important that we perceive as what we choose to do about it. Good luck, YouTube.